and welcome to my blog. Leading off the last video, I'm going to talk about doing a little blow-in. So I'm salvaging a job really, a job that went wrong. So the last video was me showing you how I flatted out a run, and it was pretty successful, but the one run I flatted out unfortunately went through into the paint underneath. And this is really good because I can now show you another process of how to blow something in, how to turn an ordinary piece of masking tape into something you can create a soft edge with, so that when you blow something in you can't see the edge and you can lose it into, you know, into the shape of a panel or something like that. This is our area that needs blowing in. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mask off the blue area so that when I rub it down, I don't end up rubbing down the blue as well. I'm going to use some of this fine line tape for that process. I've also got this slightly wider one as well. So I'm going to use some 3M grey Scotch-Brite with some Prep and Blend liquid on there to aid keying, flatting. Keying, if you're in Australia, keying I just basically mean sanding. Nobody seems to know what keying means in Australia, so I'm just going to lightly dampen the Scotch first, the pad, with some water, and then flick the majority of the water out of it, just so it's wet really, don't want it absolutely soaking, and put some Prep and Blend on the Scotch and scotch the area out. This will of course prepare the painted surface ready to have fresh paint put on the top. And it's not too coarse and it's not too fine either. You could probably use red Scotch for this if you were spraying direct gloss, which is what this is. Very forgiving paint. And that's it. Peel the masking tape off. I'm going to give it a thorough dry now. Make sure there's no water anywhere. And then I'm going to mask it off before I degrease it. So here's one way that you can turn a piece of ordinary masking tape into a piece of soft edge masking tape. If you just pinch the tape and fold it off as much as you want the overhang to be, because you can vary the amount of overhang. And then ever so simple, takes a bit of practice, but all you do is put some tension on the tape and then just literally reel it out like that. See? Now if you twist the tape back towards yourself, you can make this wall thinner. So take it right to the edge like that. If I turn it back the other way, it gets thicker. Well, wider I should say, not thicker. There you go. And it really is as simple as that. So I'll give you a real useful scenario here. Let's just say, I don't know, let's just say we had some damage along the edge of this door, and we wanted to paint the edge. We didn't want to paint the whole door because let's just say that the door is absolutely perfect, so the paint works perfect across the rest of the door, and you've just damaged this edge. You might have caught it on something, you may have polished through something like that, and all you want to do is paint just this edge. And what you don't want to see is a masking line along the edge of the door. So with our prepared soft edge tape, you can see that the wall is very thin. Okay, so if I now attach that along the edge. So the glued part of the tape wants to end on the very corner of the edge, and then this piece just sticks out and overhangs, and when you go around a corner the tape tends to get too tight then, but if you bend it back on itself it stretches the tape back out where it's folded over, it stretches it out, and you want to get it so it's sort of lying back down like that. And then what happens is when you spray that edge in, the tape hasn't got a harder edge anymore, and this overhang creates a situation where the spray can't directly hit the panel, and it kind of swirls around in this overhang. So the overhang's sticking out, the paint's going in at this angle. I mean, it depends what angle you get it at. I mean, if you were painting this and you didn't want an edge there, if you painted it from this direction, so head on, the soft edge is going to be less effective. But if you just brought the spray gun round slightly, so you're kind of coming in at a more of a 45-degree angle, then rather than hit the edge of the door, it's going to hit the edge of the masking tape, and it's going to leave a kind of edge that's more like light overspray than a hard edge, if you know what I'm saying. And then when you peel it off afterwards, you haven't then got a sharp masked edge, and this is extremely useful for door shuts. So we're looking at the rear quarter panel on the van, and let's just say this needed painting, and we wanted to paint it, make a professional job of it. What we don't want is to see overspray going into the shut, so that when you open that rear door there's not all dry overspray inside the shut. So you want the new paint to end right on that corner and blend into the old paint perfectly without it looking like it's been masked up or freshly painted. And this is a perfect way of using this tape. I'll just show you how I would mask this shut. So here's the inside of the door shut, the inside of the quarter panel, and this is our soft edge tape. This is 2-inch tape. I've used 2-inch tape to mask up the rest of the shut because we don't want the overspray going inside the shut and covering the shut past the soft edge. The soft edge tape has been applied to be right up to the corner of the panel, right up to the corner of the panel. And what I would do when I was prepping it, I would just sand in a couple of millimeters just inside the corner with some grey Scotch-Brite, just inside, a couple of millimeters like I say, and then lie the tape back down flat like that, and that very edge is dead parallel, or more or less dead parallel, with the corner of the quarter panel. I'll show you it now with the rear door closed. So we're back on the outside of the quarter panel. You can just see the tape in the door shut. I can just about move it with my thermlet, so it's dead parallel with that corner. And what this means is that when you painted that quarter panel, then the tape would stop any paint from forming any kind of hard line. Once you peel the tape off afterwards, you might just have to go out with a bit of compound afterwards just to blend it in with the existing paintwork, and it would look perfect afterwards. Far better than if you hard line masked the shut or didn't bother at all, and you can just see all that horrible dry overspray going inside the shut. Something else that is available, I think it's just worth mentioning, is you can actually buy some foam soft edge masking tape that comes on a huge reel, and you can peel that off and put it in your shut. It's kind of like sticky on one side, dry on the other, and it's kind of rugby ball shaped, and you can jam it in the shut, shut the door on it. It stops any paint from going up inside the shut, and also gives you like a feather edge. But a lot of people I know, professional painters, don't like using this stuff. They prefer to use the tape, as they still get a better finish with the tape than they do with the foam tape. But I thought I'd just mention it anyway. So I've got a fine line tape masking the inside and the outside of the recess. So on the inside of the recess, I'm just going to put the soft edge, and it's no more complicated. I'll try and stay out of the way of the camera if I can. It's no more complicated than just hanging this over that edge slightly. This is quite nice actually, because I can see where the fine line is through the tape. So we just want that little glued edge to be half over, I would have said. So it's a bit awkward because it's got to come around a corner, so I've got to try and gather the tape up or try and stretch it a little bit on the edge, try and make it lie a little bit flatter. So it's all taped up, finished now. We've got our soft edge over the top of the fine line, which is just underneath. So the fine line, like I said, is pretty much masked along the edge, protecting this outer face from getting any paint on it whatsoever. And then the fine line tape over the top hasn't made direct contact with the painted surface underneath, so that as the paint enters the panel to stick on, so I'll spray its head on, then the paint will swirl under the tape, preventing it from leaving a hard line along any of the painted surface. It will just be kind of like a feathered out, oversprayed edge just along there. And that's it, it's as simple as that really. I've used a bit of soft edge at each end, although I intend on sort of ending the paint about there. So that'll just be sort of dry overspray going off up underneath here. I've also scotched under the tape, so the scotch line comes back to about here. The thinking of it is that the paint goes into the grooves of the flatted area, and then when you polish it up, some of the paint still remains in the grooves and some of it's polished off, and the idea is that you can sort of blend it by polishing it, and you polish up. You actually remove the paint on the edge, of course, and then the paint is then blended into the new paint is then blended into the old paint through the grooves that you've created with the sanding process. And that's how you manage to lose that paint edge going this way, because this is the hardest edge to lose. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't do it if it was in the middle of this panel. I would never ever be able to lose, well, I personally wouldn't be able to do it. I'm not capable of doing it. Some other people might be able to, but direct gloss, just sort of masking it along there and expecting to try and lose it there, it's going to be impossible. And it probably is going to be very slightly visible in this recess, but in the recess you're never going to see it unless you knew it was actually there. You'd have to have perfect lighting and know it was there to start with and really look hard for it. It should be acceptable. So this is the following day. I painted that little piece in. When you consider the size of that to the size of the panel, you can appreciate how much work I saved myself by just blowing in that small section. Apologies for not showing you guys me applying the paint, but I'm really stuffed for time. As I've said in the past, I've got no protective equipment to put the camera in, no box or anything, and there's no way I'm going to stand my camera that I paid 400 quid for that I can't afford to replace. I don't want to get it damaged, so that's the reason I didn't show you that. And also the time constraints are enormous at the moment. So I painted it from there to there, basically. So that's had 2 coats of paint. And then what I've done is I've over thinned the paint. So I've put the last final coat on. I've rushed off quickly. I've jammed some extra thinners in the paint to try and blend the edges. So you don't want to do this too much because you don't want it just all running off. You've got to be very careful when you do that kind of trick. And you can see how thin the paint is. You can actually see through the paint to the masking tape still. So there's hardly any paint there, and what I'm going to do is polish this section there and there to lose that, and I only mixed up 25 milliliters of paint, so literally just knocked up 25 milliliters of paint and accurately hardened it and thinned it. And in the next video I'm going to show you how to do that. A very worthwhile watch this is going to be, guys, because if you're going to get into painting your own stuff, mixing up paints, lacquers and epoxy products and all the rest of it, I can show you a real neat trick how you can do this accurately, just mixing up incredibly small volumes of product. So I'll get this unmasked and then I'll show you a more detailed view of the blended edges and the masked areas, etc. Well, from back here, from where I'm looking, that looks pretty good already, and I haven't even polished it yet. You'd be hard pushed to see that that's been blown in as it is. So what I'm going to do, as I said, is I'm just going to polish these areas where the paint goes dry. There's no edge there. I kid you not, there's absolutely no edge there at all. Very nice. And there's no hard edge along there whatsoever, and it's not visible to the eye that it's been masked up along that edge. Obviously here it is because we've got the hard edge and we want the hard edge, but there's no edge there at all, and I cannot see, no matter how closely I look, I cannot see that that has been blown in to that at all in any way. I'll get you a good close-up of the blend so you can see a closer view of that. So we're right on the tape line now, and as you can see there's no hard edge there whatsoever, and this is going to the bit that's been scotched down with a grey scotch, because that's just where the tape was. So that's going to be dull anyway there because that's actually been rubbed down. As I go up a bit it'll go glossy again because that's the original paintwork. So that's the original paintwork, scotched original paintwork, and then we're right on the masking line, and that's our blend out there. So this is the area that needs a little bit of fettling with some polish. A bit of compound on a cloth. It's gone. Can't see it now really. Give it a little bit more. Do you know what? I can see a very slight edge, and we are talking slight, and I can live with that all day long. So that's like literally taken a couple of minutes. I could give it a bit more of a polish, perhaps make it a little bit better, but I just wanted to show you in real time how long that took to do that, and it was nothing at all, was it? So I'm focused in as well as I can on the surface of the paint, and this is really hard to do and show you, but this is the new part I painted, and we're entering the blended area now. And this is where there's a bit of tape there. I know it's out of focus because I'm focused on the paintwork at the moment, but the edge of that tape indicates exactly where the blend was. So we're right on the blend, look. You can't see anything, can you? And that was literally a minute with a bit of compound on a cloth just to get rid of that edge. Come out well. Happy days. I'm finished up for this video. I've still got the sides left to polish, well the blue part of the sides anyway. The cream part's completely finished. I'm very happy with the results. If you'd like to know more about polishing, I did do a video not that long ago, how to flat and polish your paintwork to a mirror finish. For people that are interested, this is 2K direct gloss, not base coat lacquer, as in not base coat, clear coat. It's come out really well, hasn't it? This is our little secret. Don't tell anybody that. They'll never know, will they? So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you got something from it, and I hope you could see the advantages to just blowing that little panel in rather than respraying the whole thing all over again. Maybe even getting another run in it and being back in the same boat again. And it turned out really well. It's really nice to salvage a job that went bad and pull something back out of it. I hope you learned a new skill from it as well, which is what it's all about really, isn't it? So the next video will be about mixing up small volumes of paint. I can't stress how handy this could be to you if you're not already aware of this technique. So the professional boys in the big paint shops, they've got all these modern mixing scales and everything, and they weigh out their paint when they activate it. When they harden the paint, they weigh it out, which means that you can get greater consistency and you can mix up smaller volumes. I actually only used 25 millilitres of paint. Now you've seen these paint mixing cups I'm sure before, haven't you, with a scale on the side, and they are a little bit vague, they really are. And unless you're sort of mixing up at least 100 mils of paint, it's very, very hard to sort of work out where the hardener goes, and it's a little bit, you know, you're dribbling it in, it's a bit hit and miss. Oh, have I put enough in? Have I put too little in? And sometimes something might be a bit soft afterwards. Often over activated paints can be soft because the hardener acts as a plasticizer afterwards, which isn't ideal. So I'm going to show you a real good trick how you can mix up, like I say, real small quantities of epoxy primers, 2K primers, 2K top coats, clear coats, anything that's got to be hardened. Like I say, I did it 25 mil and it works absolutely spot on for that. So that'll be next time round. So I'll see you then. Don't forget, if you'd like to make a donation, there's a link in the video description, but only if you want to, guys, and the money will be used to buy tools and equipment for future videos, if that's the kind of thing you want to see. So I'll see you next time round. Bye for now.